So I think I'm going to do something different for this review. I'm going to do it as a day in the life video. So, as you can probably tell, I'm in bed. So let's see where the rest of this goes. The P9 is actually one of the fastest phones I've ever used. The Kirin 955 is just one of those things that I hate to use an Apple term, it just works. Which, to find an Android phone that just works in that way and it's just fast. It's interesting because the P9 really is just, well, fast. Another thing about the Huawei P9 is the screen is just, it's absolutely phenomenal. Looking back Ninja Turtles, yeah? So, it's a 5.2 inch 1080p IPS Neo display. Now, the Neo bit is actually quite the interesting bit out. Everything else, what about these? You like these? Cool. Basically, it's a display that is tuned to do really good blacks, but it's still an IPS. It's hard to describe it. Sunlight legibility is just fantastic. The colours just pop. It's no AMOLED, but honestly, it's without a doubt the best IPS screen I've ever seen. Like this? Cool. So that screen really helps when I'm trying to do things outside. So I do a bit of vlogging, I'm scrolling through Instagram. All of those things are really helped by the fact that I can actually see the damn screen outside. Speaking of outside, I won't go for black jeans today. Grey will do. One of the things that makes the Huawei P9 so interesting, and I say one of because there are loads, is the camera setup. So obviously at the moment I am using the front camera. Let's try and get exposure right. That's about as good as we can get. The back camera, or back cameras, are co-developed with Leica, of all people. So yeah, the cameras are tuned by Leica. And I say cameras because there are actually two of them. So yeah, the back cameras are made by Leica. There are two. There is a colour sensor and a monochrome sensor. So you can use the monochrome sensor to obviously take monochrome photos, so black and white photos. But what it does automatically, if you leave in auto mode, it just takes better photos. It takes all the highs and the lows, all the extra depth and the contrast information and puts into the colour, and it just makes every photo look amazing. So there are two 12 megapixel cameras in the back, and I don't really know what to say apart from I really love these cameras. The front camera, which you're seeing me on, is an 8 megapixel camera. It can record 1080p video, and again, it's just, I wish it had autofocus, and I wish the Huawei camera app would allow me to better control exposure, but I don't think I'm doing too bad here, but you can tell me in the comments. The good thing about the Huawei P9 is it uses the new USB Type-C connector. USB Type-C is useful in so many ways. It's bidirectional, it can do data up to 10 gigabits per second if it was using USB 3.1 Gen 2, or up to 40 gigabits per second if it's configured using Thunderbolt 3. It does audio, both digital and analog. It does video via HDMI, slim port, DisplayPort, alternate mode. It can transmit up to 100 watts of power. Though that last one makes things a little bit difficult, because if you buy a cheap, dodgy cable, you can damage your device. The Huawei P9 does a lot of things right, and I do mean a lot. It's very thin, it's very light, it's made incredibly well. It has a fast chip, it's using the new type of USB, but there are still places where it can improve, and one of those is still EMUI. So the Huawei P9 is just an absolutely fantastic device. It's well built, it's very light, it's absolutely... Hello Diz, you're right there. It's incredibly solid, it's very fast. It's one of the fastest devices I've ever used, and that includes iOS devices. The cameras are phenomenal. A lot has been said at the moment of whether or not this Leica branding is just a shilling thing. I purposely do not think that is true. The cameras on the P9 are just phenomenal, and I've been able to take shots I would never even dream of taking on other devices. The monochrome mode is awesome, and as you can see, this entire review vlog was filmed on the Huawei P9. It's just a fantastic set of cameras. One thing I'm not too fond of is the beautification mode they put on, which always turns up to medium by default. I always have to try and turn it off. I forgot to turn it off on this recording. But yeah, as good as this phone is, it's still not without its downsides. For some people, 1080p is just not going to be enough. I am not one of those people. A 5.2-inch 1080p display is more than adequate. I am perfectly fine with 5-inch 720p screens. This is a phenomenal screen. Outdoor visibility is fantastic. It doesn't go quite as dim as I would like it to at night, but it doesn't mean it's a bad display whatsoever. And it's really hard to try and vlog with the dog in front of you. One of the few problems I do have though is I think the size is just that little bit too big for me. 5.2 inches is a bit bigger than my ideal size, which is about 5 inches. 4.7 or 5 inches is my ideal size for a phone. So this is just ever so slightly out of that. And Dizzy decided she doesn't want to sit on me anymore. Go on, you sit there, enjoy yourself. So one of the few things I wish they'd do is, when the screen is off, it looks like a completely bezel-less device. When the screen is on, sadly that is not the case. There is a black border, I'd say a 0.5 mil around the entire screen, and it's just incredibly annoying. Aside from that, oh, and I'd rather EMUI just didn't exist. I would love an option to have a more standard AOSP type ROM on there. There's not really much I can say about the P9 that is negative. For some it is expensive at about £470, but compared to other flagship devices from other companies like Samsung, Apple and LG and HTC, it's cheaper than those. It's not an inexpensive phone by any means, but this is up there with the rest of them, and it costs less than them. It's hard to put into words just how much I've enjoyed using this phone over the past 2 weeks. I'm starting to categorize things on how sad I am when I have to send them back to PR companies, and despite EMUI, I'm going to be really sad to send this that's a HTC P9. I'm going to be very sad to send the Huawei P9 back. So it isn't really the question of whether or not you should buy the Huawei P9. It's more of why you shouldn't buy it. And there's very few things I can tell you to not buy this phone. I know a lot of people do like EMUI. I'm just not one of them. I've shown the camera to many people and they are astounded when I let people pick up. They're like, it's so light, and it really is. And when I tell them the new version of USB that is in this phone is going to be in their laptops soon, it's going to be on all their other phones, their computers, maybe even their TVs in the coming years, they think it's so forward thinking, and that's because it is. The Huawei P9 gets so many things right, it outweighs even the negatives for me. I would own this phone, and I'm really sad to send it back. Ooh, Home and Away is on. You guys don't want to watch this.